Finally today, it has been a busy couple of weeks in the nation's capital as our government is switching administrations. That means a lot of new faces and a lot of new policies to get acquainted with here in the year ahead. We were joined earlier this week by Nebraska Extension Policy Specialist Brad Lubben to discuss how this administration could shape future ag policy and the producers right at home. Let's just talk about the ag policy agenda as a whole and some of the things that might come up beyond the Farm Bill.
Yeah. Well, we might first note, producers are going to pay attention to the Farm Bill and the need for a new Farm Bill debate again in 2025, given that we've extended it a year at a time over the last 2 years. There's an important role to focus on the Farm Bill safety net and to focus on potential changes of the Farm Bill that need to be debated and pushed through Congress. But we have to remember there are so many other issues on the agenda too that are important for agriculture, and some that might even have a bigger impact in total as we go on.
What do you think those are?
I think producers have to pay attention to the direction of the general economy, and that revolves around trade. It also revolves around tax policy and the expiring provisions this year that might be important to extend. It also revolves around the ongoing debate over labor and immigration, big impacts on agriculture and across the country. Lots of issues that agriculture has to deal with, regulations in general as well. Lots of issues agriculture has to deal with and pay attention to that are sort of happening beyond the Agriculture Committee.
Nominee for the Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, has a strong role in the ag background, but not necessarily in a role like this. Does her nomination play a role for farmers and ranchers, and if so, how?
Yeah, I think the agriculture community is solidly supportive of the nominee, and while she may not have the deepest background in agriculture that our sort of traditional secretary typically brings to the position, she has the connection and the ear of the president, and or at least by all accounts, there's a relationship there that sometimes has to be formed over the first several months of administration. She already has it. Agriculture already knows that if it comes to an issue like trade policy, and there are administrative proposals or administrative strategies about dealing with trade policy, and those have impacts on ag, well, the Secretary of Agriculture already has that connection to make sure those are explicitly clear and that agriculture is at least protected from the negative impacts.
As we sit here and talk today, she is not confirmed, but on a smooth track for confirmation, so it seems. When it comes to other leadership in the administration, is there anything that stands out?
Yeah, I think if you look across the board, up and down the cabinet, you're going to find nominees that are solidly behind the administration's general approach and strategy. And that means that maybe in some sense, chaos is the right word. It's not the traditional status quo, keep policies moving kind of approach. Even the typical changes in priority that you might see from one administration to the next or one party control to the next. This looks like an administration, at least that promises coming in, that it's trying to shake things up. And in that sense, all the traditional policy that we think we understand, from agricultural policy and farm bills to trade policy, to environmental policy and energy policy and so forth, we could see major shocks this year based on what's being proposed and what's being pushed forward.
We haven't even touched on executive orders, and there were a slew of them. Is there anything that sticks out when it comes to that? I
think the whole bunch of them is just a good example of this administration will move. We'll figure out later whether it exactly works the way that it's intended or whether it's all holds constitutional muster. But the administration has priorities, and it's going to move. It sort of reinforces the idea of maybe management by chaos. The equilibrium is always going to be moving, and we're going to have to figure out how to adjust for it.